As journalists hang out a day before the inauguration on the 28th of May, over the years, the new Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, has demonstrated capacity and zeal in the discharge of his duties at various formations and commands he has served. While serving as the theater commander of Operation Adinkai, Babajide Kolade Otitoju had an interaction with him about the war against terror and armed vehicles purchased for the army. Let's share some parts of the interview with you.
For me, first and foremost, I would rather have a good fighting force. I get good troops first, because it is the individual that is the most dangerous equipment, not the main equipment themselves. They aid, but the man, because the heart of the man is what does the fight. So I have that. These equipments we have can give us what we need. We don't need those other Abraham tanks and whatever. With this and with the troops we're having now, we're good to go. For the months since they came into command, we've not had any dislocation of any location, any of our locations. Why? Because the troops have seen the sincerity of purpose. They have seen the cooperation between the service chiefs. Routine luncheons that the service chiefs come. Normally the army will go to army and then the Air Force goes to army, Air Force. But this time around, the Air Force and the army came to the army and we finished and went to the Air Force. So you can see now whatever it is that we're doing, we now understand, and that's why it is Operation Hadinkai. Operation Hadinkai means we need everybody. There is no one service, there is no one parastatal that can do this alone. We need everybody, including the locals, that everybody has a part to play for us to succeed, and that's why we're having the success. So it's really very good. We fight together, we move in together, we discuss for whatever it is we want to do so that everybody is in the know what part is supposed to play. And I think that's making the difference now. Troops have seen that things have changed. Now this equipment they've been looking for are readily available and they can see them. It's not hearsay that we're buying and you have been waiting for years, waiting for them to come. They're already here. A few of them that have come already, we have distributed them to locations and we can see the impact. Them being at those locations has really put the fear of God in this, and that's why I see more people. Like I said, we have over 23,000 that have surrendered. People have seen, they realize now that they cannot win this war. The best thing is to make peace, come out from the bushes and from the jungles and then come and live a normal life. And that's why you see that we're succeeding.
January 2022, that's last year, as of January 2022. Jide, it's as if these guys had appointment with destiny and history, and months down the line, we've been tracking their performances. But some of them were theater commanders that served at Operation Adinkai, theater commander, and today, most of them cost 38, cost 37, 36. Most of them today, they are now at the center of the attraction.
Yes, the Chief of Defense Staff is cost 38. The Chief of Army Staff is cost 39. The implication of this is that up to 70 major generals could be retired.
It's a tradition.
The Chief of Defense Staff, all his mates are going.
Normal tradition.
The Chief of Army Staff can keep some of his colleagues, can keep some of them that he trusts that they will help him do a good job.
But some guys have cost 38.
Yes, no. Listen to me. Cost 39 is the Chief of Army Staff.
Okay.
Cost 38 is the Chief of Defense Staff. All those ones are going, except the Chief of Defense Staff.
Wow.
They can't keep even one person. They can't keep even one person. But cost 39, which is the cost of the Chief of Army Staff, he can keep some of his colleagues. Maybe maximum, maybe like 15 of them. No. Yes, cost 38.
38.
39.
39.
That's the Chief of Army Staff, 39.
Chief of Army Staff is 38.
Okay.
Chief of Defense Staff is 38. Chief of Army Staff is 39.
Okay.
I've told you the Chief of
Defense Staff is senior.
38. None of them will
Remain. Okay.
except the Chief himself.
Okay.
Now, the Chief of Army Staff can keep some of his colleagues that he trusts. He can vouch for their loyalty. The people, some of his best friends, like the immediate past Chief of Army Staff, he kept a good number of his colleagues. And you see, we were in where you saw the rapport with them. They were very friendly, and he kept a lot of them. Some of them from the south, some of them from the north. He kept them. In terms of his even-handedness, I think that Chief of Army Staff, you cannot accuse him of tribalism or any sort, because some of his principal officers are from the south. In fact, his Chief of Policy and Plans, which is the next in line to him, was actually from the south. So now what we are saying, those of them on course 38, there are not as many as those on from course 39, but they will all go. But the new Chief of Army Staff reserves the right to keep his most trusted friends, his mates, so that they can help him. He will give them principal positions so that they can help him, to get the job done. But whatever happens, a good number of them are on their way out. That is what usually happens. Now, talking about the Chief of Defense Staff, everyone can see the progress that we have made in the theater of war, the number one theater of war in our country, which has produced some of the brightest officers in our country. They've been privileged to serve there. Irabo, as Chief of Defense Staff, was theater commander. The late Atahiru was theater commander. The immediate past Chief of Army Staff was theater commander.
So that's like a testing ground.
Yes, there's no other. In fact, all of the present the last set of service chiefs, they all served in Maiduguri, including the Chief of Air Staff, who was an Alpha jet pilot. They all served in Maiduguri because that is the ultimate test. That is the number one war theater in our country, is the ultimate test. They've served there at one time or another. So I'm not surprised that General Chris Musa has received this elevation, because you're looking at people who are qualified. You cannot brush Chris Musa aside, because the work that he has done, the way he held the theater together, because as the theater commander, the air component, the other people, they all work. The air component, the Air Force, they have their own unit within the theater. But you are the coordinator. You are the coordinator, and he did that very well. And today, you can see, we started seeing a lot of these guys coming out of hiding and surrendering. The intensity, he was privileged that they brought to Kano jets during his time, and the Air Force worked with him. They worked with him, and we secured the kind of breakthroughs that we needed in the war. We secured it. So I'm not happy. I'm not surprised that they elevated him, not just to head the infantry corps, but to eventually make him the Chief of Defense Staff.
The rallying point. CKN, it took President Bola Tinubu like over 3 weeks. It took his time, because during his inauguration and everything, it was the Chief of Defense Staff, Rabo, that was, coordinated that inauguration and everything. So the military is not something you can just dabble into, and it took him time, it took his time, and yesterday, I think, made the 4th week of this administration to announce this new set of military shifts.
Well, what President Bola Tinubu is doing is showing Nigerians a man that was prepared for the job. They don't think that whatever decision he's taking now is just a decision he has taken is just within 3 weeks. Immediately he won the election, he already knows the direction he's going. And he has a master plan of what he wants to do. He knows what he's going to do. At the right time, he's going to do it without necessarily rocking the boat. Look at some of the action he has taken. The suspension of the CBN governor. You saw immediately he was inaugurated, how the CBN governor became a stakeholder in Aso Rock. Suddenly. You saw here anywhere you see the president's main vice, where you see
with Dele Alaki.
Dele Alaki was always with them. Then you also saw the situation with the EFCC chairman. In fact, I think that very day that he was suspended, I think he was in Aso Rock.
Went to Villa.
He was in the Villa.
As he was coming out.
He was coming out.
The suspension was finished.
That is it. And that was somebody that made it. In fact, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is behaving like an intelligent officer. That is how the way he has been behaving. Because you cannot read his face. It's obvious, even when you are meeting him. And that is an experience he has garnered
from
army chiefs and the service chiefs. So, just back to what he said. So, he is prepared. And don't be surprised by what is going to happen again. But, now talking about the appointment of the service chief, just as Jide rightly said, course 39 are the classmates of the current chief of army staff. And they cut across board, both the Navy, the Air Force. So that 3. So the new chief of army staff, the new chief of naval staff, the new chief of air staff are classmates of the chief of army. So they're within that rank. What is that? That means is that anybody that is above that, which I want to believe that the former chief of air staff, army staff, could have been, I don't know, because those that are within their classmates that are still remaining in the army now definitely are going to go with the ones that have been asked to go. I won't say they were sacked because most of them, their tenure has finished. So definitely they are just marking time. But another interesting part of it for me is the way the president has been able to balance his appointment of security chiefs. It has never been like this since 2015. If you look at the spread, the chief of army staff is from Osun, Southwest. The chief of defense staff is from Kaduna, Northwest. Chief of air staff is from Kano, yes, Northwest. Chief of naval staff is from Enugu, Southeast. The NSA is from Adama, Northeast. What has happened here is that you can see that the spread. And yes, let's take a critical example. Some of the arguments by some individuals, especially those from the South, is that they have never, for a long time, I think it was the Lieutenant General, what is that? Ihejika. That was the last Igbo man to be appointed.
During Jonathan.
And there has been this agitation. So to so many critics who were thinking that President Bola Ahmed is going to trade the same way of Buhari, were shocked.
He shut them up.
They were shocked. The same thing happened during the National Assembly when the principal officers, the speaker of this, the deputy speaker of the House was shown to the South. So you can see that here is a man who does not believe in the 5% that the president was alluding to. You understand what I mean? But my own, I still have a little challenge. My own little challenge here is that out of all this, I didn't see the place of this North Central.
So my appointment is still
coming.
So okay. That is only snack.
Let's talk about the chief of army staff now. We left the chief of defense staff. Tell us about this, because the chief of army staff, really, if he's not the chief of defense staff, that is like the Irabo coordinated it, and he was able to, he was the face of the service chiefs. Strong man, that's General Irabo during his time. So, but main attention on the service chief used to be the chief of army staff. And who is this individual?
General Taurid Abiodun Lagwaja is in my view, the most courageous officer in the army today. I have no doubt at all in my mind that when you are talking about courage, fearlessness, Lagbaja is somebody that comes to mind, because this is an officer who joins the troops on the battlefield. He's not going to send you out and wait for you to bring stories. That's not Lagbaja. Lagbaja, we do is operations briefing on Monday. After the operations briefing, is going into the bush. He will come back on Sunday. His coming back on Sunday is for him to be able to present the briefing for Monday. There are days when he will not even show up at all on Mondays for briefing. He's in the bush. Lagbaja will enter inside Brenengwari to chase the bandits and come out at the Abuja Kaduna Expressway end.
That's the new chief of army staff.
That's him in front wearing this is the way he dresses with the boys. He wear his t-shirt, he's going into the bush with them. Ask anybody in the army. That was why his appointment elicited jubilation across all the places where he has served. He served as a GOC, 82 Division.
Enugu.
Yeah, Enugu. He was the one who made it possible for that election to take place, governorship election. He promised that that election will be held, there will be peace, and because he's in charge of the whole area. Yeah. And he delivered. Then in Kaduna, he told his staff, look, I want to be sending people.
So it's always leading like this.
Yes.
Going to battle.
He will go. I said he will stay in the bush for days. This is an unusual kind of officer. He will stay in the bush with them. When those boys were killed, what was it called? Killed gas brigade men, and the other day.
Okay.
They paid with their lives because Lagbaja ensured that, look, they suffered for what they did. This is how he deployed this. You can see the troops. He deployed them on the highway just for us to have. When was the last time you heard about kidnapping on the Kaduna-Abuja highway? That's what Lagbaja has done. And as chief of operations of the army, he has focused on those areas where we had issues, and is doing his best. Especially this Brenengwari. Not many people can go to Brenengwari before now. Then when he was in Enugu, of course, he dealt with the unknown government. When you look at some of the states of the Southeast, you see that Enugu is relatively peaceful. You can't compare Enugu with Abia or Anambra. It's part of what he has done. He also has some history to his name. Having the privilege of serving as GOC in 2 different divisions, having the privilege of serving as a commanding officer in 2 different battalions, they always find him useful to send him. You can imagine somebody went abroad, he went on study leave abroad. By the time he came back, they sent him back to 72 Battalion in Makurdi, where the place that he left originally. He also combined his position as GOC with as head of the Operation Wild Stroke. So he was wearing 2 berets, 1 person. There is no officer like General Lagbaja in the army today. And what has convinced me that Asiwaju knows what he's doing is the appointment of this man. Because he clearly listened to people. Look, we will get to some of the other guys. A lot of them, they didn't know anybody, no lobbying. Asiwaju must have listened to different people. On this program, I mentioned him, the one we showed earlier.
Yes,
I mentioned
earlier.
him and, other people too.
On the 28th.
Must have told the commander-in-chief that in the army today, the officer that commands tremendous respect across board because of his capacity and capability as an operations person is Lagbaja. Okay. And what Asiwaju wants is results. He has brought a field general, a commander of commanders, to be his chief of army staff. I've never met him physically, one-to-one. If I see him in town, I may not recognize him. But just the same way I used to praise Gerard Osun,
Lamidi.
yes, for all that he did in 2014 in Borno State, is the same way that I can talk about this person. Perhaps even on a much bigger scale.
All right.